Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone, and we got Larry up there on his mountaintop, spyglasses on, and watching the events of this world, the mad world. It seems like the world is going totally insane. The communists in the United States, we call them the far left, progressive, whatever, are just totally lost it. And I think what you're watching here is a spirit that the Lord is allowing to happen to bring about the final conflagration, if you will, and the bringing down of the United States. Hi, Larry. How are you doing?
Hey, Stuart. Just watching from my mountaintop as America disintegrates around us.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. It's sad to watch. And you know what's really sad about it is you can't do anything about it. You can prepare, and people really do need to start preparing if they haven't done anything, and they're just mocking all this. But just take a look at the earth. Just get out of politics totally and take a look at what's going on weather-wise, climate-wise, earthquake-wise, volcanic-wise, rift-wise, sinkhole-wise, and on it goes. And if you look at the news around the world, we're in dire trouble. This planet is really hitting into it, and people are totally, basically, unaware of it because they're looking at their local forecast and their local little storms. Well, that was a little odd that we had snow and whatnot, but they don't look at the world at large. Anyway, let's start off with the Drudge stuff that you were talking about before we went on air.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Drudge headlines this evening, and of course they've got a photograph I posted today of illegal aliens coming in riding on locomotives from Mexico, and the great surge on our southern border that, I suppose what's interesting, Stuart, is the fact that it appears that America now is Gaza, and our government is Hamas. The Republicans and the Democrats, they are Hamas, and they are sacrificing all the American citizens and all the American citizens' monies and foodstuffs. And there you are. But here's the headlines. I want to read it right quick, just a few sentences for the headlines on Drudge report today. U.S. southern border battle intensifies. More illegals coming, plus 250 kids per day. Massachusetts governor cancels National Guard deployment to the southern border. Trump warns USA could follow path of Germany on immigration. Trump, U.S. will not become one big migrant camp on my watch. What do you think, Stuart?
Well, I think he disagrees with the Lord. I mean, I know his heart is probably in the right place, and what he's saying is absolutely true. I was reading some articles, though, about the National Guards that are going down there. They're not doing anything about patrolling the border. They're shoveling out horse manure, and they're doing menial tasks. And it's all a joke. And Jeremiah the prophet, speaking as God told him to, that he was going to send in aliens across the border into the United States who would fan out, take up residences in most of the cities and towns and villages, embed themselves in the local economy, and when the time came, they would rise up and destroy America. And that's exactly what we're watching. It doesn't matter whether people believe America's Babylon. It is absolutely immaterial because it is Babylon, and they have no excuse other than they don't want it to be true, or they're in total denial that it is. So therefore they cannot defend themselves, they cannot protect their loved ones, because they won't do anything to arm themselves for the coming insurrection. And it's going to be communist-led, and that's what it is. It's an insurrection. and it's all been well planned. And of course, when the fight begins, then they'll declare martial law, and the Christians and all those kind of good folks are going to get rounded up, stuck in FEMA camps for either death or re-education. And everybody laughs at that and says, oh, that could never happen in America. It could never happen here. Well, if you want to be an idiot, I guess there's no law against it. If you want to be stupid, there's no law against that either. Doesn't change it. And when they come knocking on these people's doors and grab the women and grab the children and grab them and separate them and put them into FEMA camps, I think you're going to see a great big change in their attitude of mocking and laughing, because it is coming, and there's no question about it. The Bible in Jeremiah even talks about it. You rounded up my people, and you would not let them go. Well, that's what FEMA camps are all about. That's what Homeland Security is all about. And you can't stop it, Larry. That's the problem. America is going down the tubes, and it cannot be stopped. The only thing people can do at this point, somebody wrote and asked, well, what can we do? Well, you should have written your senator and said you're going to impeach him. You're going to not ever vote for him again, because they're all complicit in this. I watched this stuff going on in Washington. It's just a stage play. It's utterly corrupt. There's not 1 ounce of truth in it anywhere. They're just playing, and they're playing the American people. They may not even know they're playing, but they are. And I was doing a Best Global report, and I was commenting on the fact that it seems odd that on the Trump side you get people arrested and put in prison, but on the for virtually nothing. But on the Clinton side, no grand juries, no indictments, and everybody's out running around. Now, if that doesn't tell something to the American people, I have no idea what will, other than FEMA police coming to their door and taking them away. I don't know what else to tell people. I've given up on it. They just kind of mock it. They laugh at it, and all I can say is they're not going to be laughing hardly ever again. This is coming very fast down it's kind of like a slow freight train. You look at it a mile away and it's hardly moving. But when it's 10 feet away, it's too late to get off the tracks. And that's what we're looking at. It appears like it's, down the pike. What do you think? I think it's much faster coming.
Well, I think it's very interesting when today there's a headline on Depka File and actually made it into U.S. News. It says Israeli ex-minister, in other words, one of the government officials of Israel, Golan Segav, is detained on suspicion of spying for Iran. And by the time I posted that, the Israeli Shin Bet had already arrested him, put him in custody, and charged him with treason and spying for Iran against Israel. And we don't have spies. Spies in America that are caught, and most of them Democrats. We don't have them charged. We don't have people that have committed treason against a lawful president of the United States arrested. We don't even have them detained. We do nothing with them. So, Stuart, what can I say? How do you warn the American people other than that?
You can't. I mean, it's gone beyond repair. Just as the prophecy said, Babylon will not be healed. America was given a chance to heal itself, and it has refused to do so. So nobody has any complaints when the hammer comes down. It can come down in a multitude of ways. Earthquakes, volcanoes, all kinds of things are going to start to happen. They're already happening, actually. And the political scene, the police state, FEMA camps, Homeland Security, NDAA, fusion centers, Jade Helm, all of that has been performed right out in the open for the American people to see, and they're just poo-pooing it. Never happened here. Well, you can't heal people that are in that kind of denial. It doesn't really matter. So the only thing I can tell everybody listening is prepare yourselves. as best as you can, because you don't have any other options. And I've heard tales about neighbors who come over and they see you preparing, and they tell them, well, you should be preparing yourself, and they say, well, why? I'll just come over and take yours. That is the attitude of a good share of America now, and that's why God is going to utterly destroy us. And as far as the communist infiltration in the United States, God has made that perfectly clear. He's going to destroy every one of them, but he's going to use them to punish the Christians. Judgment begins at the house of the Lord, and then after that's done, he goes after those who did the judging, and that's where we're headed, and there's nothing we can do about it. And as far as what you were saying, yeah, we don't do anything. I mean, Hillary is guilty of high treason. They've got the evidence. They're not going to do anything about it. Sessions isn't going to do anything about it. They've been infiltrated. They've all been compromised. I'm amazed that Trump hasn't done anything about it either. By executive order, he could declare martial law anytime he wants. But he's not going to do it. You're not going to watch that happen. It's just a long, drawn-out play acting. While the American people are watching all of this, something else is going on in the background. So let's get into what that something else is, because it appears to be World War III. So maybe we should move over to Israel. You've been doing a lot of stuff on that. What is going on over there?
Well, the most interesting thing is Israel, of course, has called up, and they have 150,000 plus troops called up for the northern border with Syria and Lebanon, and they're threatening Iran, going to attack Iran more and more inside Syria. And at the same time, there's reports coming out today that from DEPCA file that Iranians and some of the Syrian militias have donned or put on Syrian army uniforms and are marching towards the Golan border with Israel, reporting that they're going to begin a war there. And so Israel knows they're coming, and I think Israel's ready for them. And at the same time, you've got this other front, if you will, and I'd like your opinion on this, Stuart, because in Yemen, we now have officially the Salman Arab army that is attacking the Houthi rebels that are Iranian-supported in this port city, this main port in Yemen, and trying to take it over. And we're getting reports now that Israel has literally gave some of their warplanes into the fight in Yemen and are now bombing the Houthis so that the Saudis can attack. And the Houthi rebels are calling on Tehran now to send military, send troops. So we've got a real big war beginning to build inside Yemen, and at the same time we've got one on that northern border of Israel, and we got the big Gaza revolution going on the southern border. You know, Stuart, that's what's so interesting. In America, everybody's telling Israel to not hurt, don't hurt or offend the Palestinians trying to break through the border from Gaza into Israel to attack the Israelis. Don't defend that border. Don't hurt them people. And we can't even stop the people from coming out of South America and Mexico, including people from Middle Eastern countries, coming through our own southern border because, Stuart, we don't have a border. And we get mad at Israel because they've got one and they have walls and they protect and fight over their borders.
Well, the difference is that the communists have infiltrated the United States to the point of, and the university, so all we're getting graduating are these snowflakes, communists, bleeding heart liberals, and they don't understand what these people are doing. And, a lot of the people that are coming across this border, and I've gotten more reports on how they come in, and they scatter them around, all around the United States, and they put them in these smaller cities. And most of these people are military age, 19 to, say, 27, 28-year-old. They're all males. They're all single. We are being, this is a fifth column operation that's going on in the United States, and the Bible verifies it. Jeremiah verifies that this is a fifth column operation. And once this is complete, and I think they're very close to completing it, and this had been going on, by the way, for a long, long time. I had a nun call me maybe 20, 25 years ago when I was doing the research on the border and what was going on. And she said that she was actually shown, she was operating some of the, I don't know what they call them, halfway houses or stop-off points for the people that are coming across the border. Number one, a lot of them are not Mexican. A lot of them are coming in are from other Middle East countries. They're coming in and they are here for bad purposes. She was shown maps of where they were going to go. They talked to her, and she just simply reported it, that this is what she was being shown, this is what she was being told. They came over to infiltrate, pick up residents, and then when the call is given, they will rise up. And this is all part of the United Nations. The United Nations is a communist operation. The United Nations is controlling an awful lot of this. So Bibi's, over there, he says, well, okay, if you want to, send your men, women, and children against our border, then you're going to face the consequences of it. A lot of wounded people, a lot of dead people. But Israel has a right to do so, and we should be doing that over here. We have been called, I don't know what kind of a nation we are. I guess like Trump says we are not a nation because we don't have borders. All nations in the world have borders. All nations in the world are supposed to protect their borders. Obama is the biggest traitor of all, and the rest of them are too, by the way, because they don't protect us. They're openly committing treason against the American people. And they're getting away with it, by the way. Nobody says anything about it. Do you ever hear on Fox or CNN or anybody else, this is a communist insurrection? I only heard it once on Fox News. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. Just certain people on Fox have said that, and some of them are not on Fox anymore. They lose their shows.
Yeah.
And Fox is pretty much infiltrated. There's a lot of hate, hating Trump on Fox now that wasn't there before. One American News is about the only one that just tells it like it is, and they won't even let them on Dish. So the American people, I was watching a press conference today. I told you about it earlier, where the director of the Secretary of Homeland Security was addressing the border situation, and the press went absolutely insane. And the press is they're actually beginning to appear to be the fourth arm of the American government. The press are trying to run this nation, and that in itself is a communist coup because our press are communists. I can't even imagine anyone listens to them anymore.
Well, I think what's happened is, they've infiltrated our school system. I was on the Art Bell show, when was that, 17, 18 years ago now, and I mentioned what was going on in the schools, and there was just incredible disbelief. Well, it can't be true. That's just my children. I've never heard that. Well, these people are, how do I say, experts at coming in, twisting things around. It sounds very innocent, but it isn't, because it puts seeds in the young people's minds, and that is why we have colleges now. The communist concept is, I'm a communist, you're not, and therefore you deserve to die, and you could not possibly have any point of view that's even worthwhile, so we're not even going to discuss it. And that's exactly what the universities are doing right now. You have no other point of view other than the communist point of view. They have done that in every nation they've taken out. You know what's interesting to me, though, Larry? In every communist takeover, one of the first groups that they take out are the college professors and the media, and they kill them all. And they do that because if you can't trust, if a person would rat out or turncoat on his family and on his government, you could never trust him. If you're a communist, how could you trust him? So they kill him. And they've been doing that right along. And yet these people evidently think this is all going to be different. And they're going to be rewarded for their treason. Yeah, they're going to be rewarded, all right. It'll probably be a hollow point bullet between the eyes. That's how they're going to get rewarded. But they just can't figure out, and they think for some reason history is not going to repeat itself. But the communists have an MO. They've used it for many, many years. It works, and they're not going to change it. And they're not going to soften it up either. When they come to power, look out. And I think Obama's coming back. By the way, did you see that picture? In fact, I know you did because I think you sent it, of Obama dressed up as a devil.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, it was sent to me, and they're beginning to post it a little bit on the internet now. It was one of those hidden pictures of Obama that, like him and Louis Farrakhan, where they keep it hidden for years, and it's finally snuck out, and he's dressed up as Satan. And anybody can look at that picture and tell that's what it is. And isn't it interesting, Stuart, that you had a dream about Obama and you called him Lucifer, and he smiled and said, "Yeah, I know it."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I asked him. I said, "You know you're Lucifer, don't you?" I'll never forget it. It was one of those. I don't know how you tell people the difference between a dream and kind of a vision, but there's a big difference in the sharpness and the clarity, and you don't ever forget them. And, I was teaching Bible prophecy. I don't know where I was or who I was teaching. And then he walked, big smile, and came over to me. And that's when I said, "You know you're Lucifer, don't you?" And he said, "Yes," big smile on his face. So I think he knows who he is. I think he's always known who he is. So it doesn't surprise me that he would dress up as a devil. I mean, how many times does he have to poke people's eyes or poke their nose and smile at them and say, "You don't even now recognize who I am"? I get emails, that could never happen in America. Obama could never come back. My argument is I hope he doesn't, and I sincerely hope they're right. But I got a bad feeling that they're absolutely wrong. And yes, he is coming back, and it's going to be after the chaos that the Soros group and those are going to engineer. I don't know how it's going to start. Maybe the war, maybe economic collapse, but it's coming. So back to the Middle East. Assad said that he wanted an Iran military base. Right after Israel said, "You're not going to be allowed to do that." So how is this going to end?
Well, I'm beginning to wonder, Stuart, if there's going to be an Israeli invasion like they had planned from the beginning of Syria and Lebanon by Israeli forces, because they're on the border. You don't call up 150,000 plus troops for nothing. I mean, you're not talking, that's not even a drill. It's major when you do that. And what's interesting is the fact that Netanyahu has demanded of Assad there will be no Iranian bases in Syria, and he's bombing every single one of them. Matter of fact, there's even bombing raids going on the border of Iraq and Syria of some of these militia groups, and the U.S. has taken the blame for it, but it apparently is Israel doing the bombing in Syria. So what's interesting, though, is during the World Cup, of course, Salman and Netanyahu and Putin have been talking in Moscow, but there's been a rebuilding project of the Iranian bases during that time. So we are approaching I guess you could say, critical mass in Syria and critical mass in Yemen. And basically, the Saudi Crown Prince Salman, if people remember his earlier reports, Salman himself said that his Arab army and the U.S. and Israel will take down Iran.
Yeah, they're going after Iran as a target, and he's looking to destroy Iran. And the only thing we have to wonder about, will Iran suddenly preempt it all of the Daniel 8 war? And that would be when the United States has to get involved, then Russia will have to get involved, and Turkey will have to get involved, and Israel will be deeply involved, and then everything is on. And that may be the identical time that Pakistan and India solve their long disputes, and that may be the time that China decides to take Taiwan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, as a friend of yours said, he dreamt that there was just war everywhere. And it's only going to take, well, they're shooting missiles right now, I guess, aren't they? I mean, this is a hot war. It's still going on.
Yeah,
and nothing is being said about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a hot war. It's a hot war every day and night. Over there, our main news, our propaganda news is just smoke and mirrors, over and over, day by night, smoke and mirrors. That's all we've got in America. We're not covering the real wars, but it's hot over there. At the same time, Stuart, I'd like your opinion on this, because Putin has been so quiet lately, and the latest report is that NATO and the U.S. and some were pouring troops into Poland and worried about Ukraine. And now today reports are coming out that Putin is possibly moving nukes to the Polish frontier.
Yeah, and I noticed that Norway has been a bunch of U.S. troops pouring in there as well, for basically the same reason, preparing for war with Russia. So everything that I look at tells me that all of this prep is going to one day just break loose. We've been kind of at the edge before, and the Lord has put his hand up and said, not quite yet. But as the Bible says, the delays come to an end. And I think it's Habakkuk that says, the vision will come, though it tarry, though it be delayed, it shall surely come. And this is where we're in. We're in this kind of short delay, and Trump's probably a major part of that delay. But we're for sure coming. And the other thing we know is that Putin is the enemy of Israel himself. Now, we don't know if he's Gog of Magog or not quite yet, but Russia is the one that's actually arming all their allies, all of whom want Israel to be destroyed. So, yeah, this is going to, how can it lead to anything but major war over there? What do you think?
At the same time, though, there's a really interesting Fox News report came out today. It says, Big Rocket Man. President Trump vows to create a space force within the Pentagon and return to the moon and reach Mars. Now, what's interesting, Stuart, you and I both know, and we're well aware over a number of years, that we already have a space fleet, except that it's been kept secret, and Trump really doesn't have to build one to announce it. He actually can just let it go into the public view. So what do you think with this big move by Trump?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's slowly going to acclimate the American people that the TR-3Bs, the whole space program, we are on Moon, we're on Mars, and who knows where else we are. He's got to acclimate the American people to it, that this is actually going on, has been, and we got to get into that. Maybe we can get into that either Wednesday or Friday, but the space fleet is well known by those who watch that sort of thing. Anyway, Larry, thanks a lot for coming on. We're running out of time. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we'll get back on Wednesday, the Lord willing. And anyway, good night, folks. Heads up.